We tried to go bowling on Thursday. Since the last time I've broken my right leg, places in my knee.
Oh, I was waiting for Bonnie to finish her story about bowling.
I don't remember.
Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the time and the place for the school board meeting for the Marshalltown Community School District. This is Monday, October 16, 2023. Welcome to those of you joining us here in person. Welcome as well to anybody who's watching us via YouTube or some other streaming service. We'll do our introductions here before I get too carried away. We've got board members here this evening. To my right, Zach Wall, Bonnie Lowry, and Jan McGinnis. To my left, Karina Hernandez and Sarah Faltis. Seated here at the center table with me, to my left, Dr. Theron Schutte, the superintendent of schools. And to my right, Mr. Randy Denham, our board secretary. And I am Sean Heitman. We've got a pink sign-up sheet there on the speakers table for anybody here for public comment. Understand that you will be provided with 5 minutes to address the board. Iowa law prohibits the discussion of specific employees of the district or their job performance. Also, our board policy prevents board members from responding to comments so that we can comply with open meeting laws. With those things done, would you all please join me in reading the mission statement of the Marshalltown School District? We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences. And please stand as you're able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
Yes, we need to remove 6.03 from tonight's agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Lowry Faltis, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Abby?
Okay, good evening, everyone. First recognition is for the Mujeres collaboration. So they are a group at Marshalltown High School that were recently featured in an article in the Iowa State Daily, exploring how their voices through writing college essays could kind of share that moment right there. Natalie Andrade and Deanna Hernandez, also student board representatives, will present to speak about the recent opportunities the group had to collaborate with Iowa State students. Andrade was also awarded with the Robert Mannheimer Youth Advocacy Award for her writing and was honored for her role for starting the group as well. And I believe they are on Zoom here tonight, along with a presentation to share their opportunities and what the collaboration process was like.
Hello, so my presentation is going to talk about the partnership between Mujeres, our club, and ISU professor and college students. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is a picture after the program. It's a collection of all the pictures we had of the students and during their sessions where they would have to elaborate on what they wanted to talk about in their college essays. Mujeres, the goal was to equip high school students to create personalized college essays. Each student had one tutor, an ISU Canvas account, and an ISU email for peer review. And this is how students would be able to communicate with their tutor and Dr. Suarez to kind of be guided on the time frame. And at the end of the project, students shared out loud their essays, which a lot of students found was very powerful and empowering. So the Iowa State Daily article of Marshalltown Mujeres and ISU partnership is below. The article basically talks about how Mujeres came to be and how our sponsor, Mrs. Stutches, expanded on our visions by helping us make that connection between Dr. Suarez and honestly handling the logistics of it all and writing the grant. I also mentioned how the club founders experience throughout the project. One of the following quote is Alexia's Garcia's, one of the founders. She said, "For me, it means having representation of what that experience is like and knowing I'm not the only one who felt like this. Living is hard, especially when you're in college and when you're trying to break from those generational barriers and create your own life." Next slide, please. So these are some other pictures of the end of the project as well. As you can see on the far right, it was actually really cool to be able to see how far the project came and to know that we as students were able to create that project and have a lasting impact on the community, on the ISU campus as well as the Marshalltown campus. At the end of the project, it was important for us to collect testimonials so we can get feedback on what the students thought of the project. One student said, "I liked this program because it involved high school students and college students coming together and giving an opportunity for each, as well as bringing together something relative, whether you come from Latino descendants or studying Latino culture." This Mujeres plans to continue the same project this year. As we found out, the grant is renewable for this year as well. But with that said, do you guys have any questions?
How many participants are in the program?
Last time I remembered, there was around 20, just because there was only 20 tutors, but I don't remember for sure.
What's the name of the book you're holding up?
In that book, we read La Distancia Entre Nosotros, which means the distance between us, and it's a Latino memoir. And something really cool about the project as well, Dr. Suarez was able to provide a grant for Mrs. Stutches to buy multiple books to kind of inspire students on how they inspire students on what's important in a memoir and how to get a story across. So it was really inspiring for them to be able to see themselves within the books and kind of get an idea of how they want to illustrate their own story.
Nice.
Well, Natalie, congratulations on the honor. Maybe at some point in time, you guys will be back here and we can see you in person again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then
Is
Natalie?
Giselle on?
Yeah.
Is she with you, Natalie?
She's with me.
Okay. So Giselle Hernandez Ibarra has additionally applied to be a student school board representative. So I've asked her to share a little bit about herself before the board acts on my recommendation to approve her. So do you want to share a little bit about yourself, Giselle?
So yeah, my name is Giselle Hernandez. I am a junior here at Marshalltown High School. I'm participating in girls varsity soccer here at the high school and also in a club team in Des Moines with Diana and Natalie as well. And I'm also a participant in Trio and Gear Up and also with AV Club with Natalie as well. And I also plan on trying to get my associate's degree here at the high school. So...
Do you have a field in mind for the future?
Yeah, I'm trying to do diagnostic medical sonography. I'm trying to do that course here at Iowa University or maybe Mercy College as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The other recognition that we have, each October during one of the two board meetings, we recognize our principals, as this is National Principal Month. I think all of us know, particularly Bonnie, how hard the job of principal is, and it's probably never been more difficult than it's been the last few years. As superintendent, I feel unbelievably honored to work with such a veteran group of principals as we have on our administrative team. And for those that aren't as veteran, they're very high quality and aspiring to continue to move from assistants to lead principals down the road and that sort of thing. This particular month is recognized by the National Association of Elementary School Principals, the National Association of Secondary School Principals, as well as the American Federation of School Administrators. So Tim is here to represent because he didn't get the night off, but it's just been a true pleasure the past 8 years to work with this group, and I think we all learn from one another, which makes it especially special. So thank you, Tim, and the other administrators for what they do on a daily basis for the students, staff, parents, and community at large here in Marshalltown.
Okay. We need to hold a public hearing regarding approval of the plans, specifications, and form of contract for the Tornado Safe Room project. So we will open that right now. Nobody's here. Randy, any written comments received? None. Then we will close the public hearing regarding approval of the plans, specifications, and form of contract for the Tornado Safe Room project. And we'll move on to the consent agenda, where we have minutes from the October 2nd board meeting. Dr. Ryan, any items of note in personnel?
No.
Okay. We were close. Sometimes we have one, but not tonight. Okay. Looking at interagency agreements and contracts, we have an addendum to the Iowa Workforce Development Teacher and Paraeducator Registered Apprenticeship Agreement. We have a renewal of professional services agreement for enrollment analysis with RSP Associates, an amendment to the professional services agreement with FEH, and I think that's on the tornado room, correct? Is that what that one's on?
Yes.
Is that right, Kevin?
Yes,
okay.
that is, yep.
An agreement with Community Support Advocates for mental health counseling and support at Rogers Elementary School for the remainder of this school year, and an agreement with Youth and Shelter Services for mental health counseling and support at Rogers Elementary for the remainder of this school year, a school counseling field experience agreement with Northwest Missouri State University, and an agreement with Convergent for camera and door access services for a 5-year agreement. Questions about any of those items? Looking at open enrollments, we have 6, 3 in and 3 out. Randy, anything to note in bills?
No.
Anything to note in the monthly financials? No. Questions for Randy about those items? We've got a few donations. A donation of $3,000 from Unity in Our Community with a total of $300 to be dispersed to each building for student needs. A donation from Hope United Methodist Church with a value of $1,000 to $1,500 per year. A donation from the Period Pouch Group with a value of $500 for feminine products. And an anonymous donation in the amount of $13,583.98 for the district-wide Welcome Center at the Orpheum Theater. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
McGinnis, Lowry, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Nobody's on the pink sheet, so Dr. Schutte, you want to talk about Giselle?
Yeah, so you met Giselle just a few minutes ago during the recognition, and I would recommend board approval that Giselle join the other 3 girls, Natalie, Deanna, and Daisy, as one of our 4 student school board representatives for the coming year.
Any questions or comments? We need a motion to approve Giselle Hernandez Ibarra as an additional student school board representative as presented.
So moved.
Second.
McGinnis, Faltus? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. And then hopefully,
Is Natalie still with us
are
here?
they still online?
Yes.
Girls, do you have a high school update for us this week?
Yeah, I shared the. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I shared the slideshow with the email you guys sent out. I don't know if you guys want to pull it up.
Yeah, I don't think we received that. Can you send that to Mrs. Harmson? Quick?
Yeah.
We got the Mujeres one, but all right, we're good.
Okay. So our school board report for October 16th. So Trunk or Treat, Bobcat Tradition, is happening October 31st, 5 p.m. through 7 p.m. and will be hosted by Student Senate. Clubs and teachers are welcome to participate and pets are welcome. During this tradition, a lot of people dress up and it's really fun. The community comes out.
National Honor Society has been working on promoting the blood drive that is partnered with LifeServe every year. So far, we have 43 of 52 appointment slots filled. This Wednesday, seniors and juniors are planning to visit homerooms to hopefully fill the remaining appointment slots. And it is next week, October 26th, at the auditorium. And we have a link in the slideshow if any of the school board members would like to donate.
Ash Coalition, their main for October, it's Let's Talk Month. Let's Talk Month. The coalition wants to educate and encourage caretakers to talk about students about healthy relationships. They're doing this through creating online fact sheets for schools like Miller and the high school.
And the last one is for National Hispanic Institute. For those who haven't heard about this program, it is a leadership program during the summer, and its goal is to enhance communication and leadership skills. And its intent is to help Hispanic students excel academically and encourage them to attend college. And last week, I had the opportunity to join NHI on Friday to bake flan. And the purpose for that was to collect money for transportation during the summer programs. And on Saturday, they also had the chance to make and sell mini donuts with the Marshalltown Church of Nazarene. And as stated before, the money collected intends to go to transportation costs for the summer.
Any questions from anybody?
The Ash Club? I've not heard of the Ash Club. When how did it come about? When did it start? How long has it been going?
So, Ash Coalition is not a club. It's an organization that's been working in Marshalltown for a while now. They do like the luncheons sometimes throughout the years, like usually during the spring. And they're kind of similar to CAPS in the way that they just help the school district with resources concerning healthy relationships and things such as that.
So the Ash Coalition is actually a group of community citizens?
Not exactly that. They're like trained faculty in the subject matter, and the people who work there work for the organization.
So they're
Is
they're
it
on
through
staff?
CAPS, Natalie?
No, I'm not sure actually. I'm just part of their student panel, so. But
We got we got connected to the Ash Coalition through Mujeres. We got a lot of their resources to add to our curriculum in Mujeres, and so that's how we kind of made that connection.
and I know by the last meeting or by the minutes as well that it was approved by the school, like the online fact sheet that they have.
Yeah, I think they're communicating information out through middle school and high school, and we can research and provide more information on that.
So it's through Micah.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim?
Good evening. Thank you for us to have some time with you tonight to showcase some of the things that are happening at Franklin Elementary this school year. Next slide, please.
Okay, so what you see up here first is last school year, this spring, when we had previously met, we did not have our spring data yet for our social and emotional behavior wellness. And so all we were able to share at that time was our fall, our baseline for the 22-23 school year, and then our winter data. So up here, what's presented is our full year last year, which finally includes our spring data as well. The very first box up in the upper left-hand corner is the district data, and then everything else is Franklin-specific data. So you can see on this screen, this is the SABRS screener. So this is a screener that teachers administered in response to how students behave at school from kindergarten through fourth grade. The goal is for the purple or the bluish color to increase and the reddish color to decrease across the school year, showing that the work and the efforts that we have put in to increase social and emotional wellness are working throughout the year. You can see up on the screen from last year that at Franklin, every grade except fourth grade made improvements, and fourth grade did not see a decrease in scores. They just overall from fall to spring stayed right where they were at. We had an increase in winter, and then we dipped back down a little bit in spring. But this was the first time since we started implementing the SABRS screener that we had seen this much improvement. On the next slide, you will see this is the My SABRS screener. So this is the screener that students take themselves, and that's only administered at our level starting in second grade. So up at the top, you're going to see the district trend from last year's fall, winter to spring, and then at the bottom, you see our Franklin second, third, and fourth graders from fall to spring. So again, overall, there was some pretty significant improvements that we attributed to all the work that we started doing last year in the area of social and emotional wellness.
This slide is representing the professional development that was in place last year. That was a part of the work that Danny just shared with you. That we feel like had a huge part in the improvement of our social emotional learning through our SABRs and My SABR scores. Also linked here under the icons are some of the videos that were previously shared with you. Different pieces of responsive classroom, including morning meeting, closing circle, interactive modeling, and the actual Fly 5 curriculum lesson. This slide represents our transition to CARES away from our RCAT slogan that was a part of our PBIS work for many years. This is a part of responsive classroom. As you can see what CARE stands for: cooperation, assertiveness, responsibility, empathy, and self-control. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see an example for recess, it looks like. And so conversations are had with the students at the beginning of the school year. And we have a slide later in the presentation where Danny will further explain what that process is. This slide is one of our instructional tools that we use. This is a school-wide system for voice levels. This has also been updated to include Bobby the Bobcat. We try to use this common language throughout our building, not only in our classrooms, but our hallways, restrooms, lunchroom, recess at times, and on district buses. The next two slides represent the different pieces of responsive classroom. On this slide, what you'll see highlighted in blue are components of responsive classroom practices that have been, we've received professional development and continue to be an ongoing in implementation. The second line there with establishing rules, Mrs. Minkle is going to share a little bit more about that process.
So if you want to go ahead and click on where it says establishing rules, you will see a classroom poster that is similar to the one that we just looked at for recess. The reason we wanted to highlight this was because responsive classroom really gave us a very different approach to establishing common area expectations than we had previously utilized through PBIS. So PBIS really instructed our staff for our staff to get together and our staff to predetermine what behaviors are necessary in each of the common areas. And responsive classroom really kind of flips that on its head, and they still want the students and the staff to have common area expectations, but they do not want the expectations to be predetermined by staff and then directly taught to students. Instead, they want it to be a much more collaborative effort between the staff and the students. So up here is kind of the final product, but the process that was taken to get here was we have students go through a process called Hopes and Dreams, where each individual student identifies either an academic or a social emotional hope and dream that they have for themselves for that school year. And then the class works together using the CARES acronym as a guideline. They work together to determine what kind of rules or laws need to be in place for each of the settings in order to be able to accomplish those hopes and dreams. And then from there, when everybody kind of brainstorms their ideas around each of the letters for CARES, then we worked to kind of make them more cohesive and concise so that there's only one rule per letter, because responsive classroom stresses the importance of having less than 6 rules. So up here, what you can see is we not only have our one rule for each of the areas, but there's also pictures to accompany them. And then this is the final product. This is the class constitution. So each student in this classroom went through and signed their constitution, showing that not only do they agree to the rules, but that they were actually the main idea behind what the rules are and what they stand for. Any questions around that piece? Because I know that's very different than probably what you're used to schools showing around rules. Okay.
I'll also mention with that Mrs. Minko collaborated with Mrs. Kluver, one of our fourth grade teachers, for this particular poster. And they also did some video recording of their work with the kids that we will use in future professional development with the other teachers. Okay, going back to this list, if you go down and just look at the teacher language, on Monday, October 9th, Franklin's staff had the opportunity to work directly with a responsive classroom trainer. And our trainer, Hayden, spent time with our staff on teacher language, utilizing what we say to kids. One of the resources is the power of our words. And so this will also provide us opportunity for further professional development when you think about the different types of teacher language. In the afternoon, we focused as a group on student language, not only the language they use interacting with each other and the adults, but also within their learning. And so each of these resources are going to provide us opportunity as we go through the rest of the school year to continue to focus on the implementation of responsive classroom teacher language. The next slide is simply a continuation of those components of responsive classroom, and you can notice from the slide that these have yet to be implemented. The Energizer is one of the instructional strategies, tools, I should say, that we use throughout our building throughout the day. When we get to points of the day where kids may be a little restless or maybe they need something to pick them up. And you guys have been sitting now for quite a while, so we're going to invite you to engage in Energizer with us. So you're going to stand in your place. We're going to ask the directors in the back to also join us, and then I'll give you some directions on that. So if you guys want to join us up front, please. Kind of stand where we can be in kind of like a oval, I guess would work best for this configuration. Come on up. I'll join you once I lay out the directions. Okay. Try to close it in. Do you want to slide this way, Danny, and I'll join you? Okay. This Energizer is meant to bring kids up. If we're a little sluggish or we've been sitting for a while and engaged in academics, it just gives an opportunity to laugh. And it also is related to academics. Initially, this is called 15, but we're going to make it 9 just for the sake of time. So what will happen is Dr. Schutte will start, and he'll either say right or left. And once he determines which direction we're going to go, he will say a number. We're going to say the numbers consecutively to 9. Here's the trick. You don't want to be the person that says the number 9, because if you are, you have to sit down. Okay? And so one other component of that is not only can you just say one number, you can say 2. So I could say, if it was my turn in line, I could say 5, 6. And the next person could say 7 or 7, 8. And so the trick is trying to use number sense and kind of predict who's going to sit down first. And the story of it is that you would go until one person is left standing. Okay, so we're going to energize the group. We're going to play 9. Dr. Schutte, would you decide you're going to go right or left?
Left.
Okay, and you may begin.
3.
No.
Consecutive
numbers starting at 1.
They have to start at 1, 2, 3.
You can say 1, 2.
I know, I was just saying 9.
I was thinking 8, but 1, 2.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
8.
Ryan.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6.
7, 8.
Bye,
1,
2.
3.
4, 5, 6.
7, 8.
You got me anyway.
1.
2,
3, 4.
5, 6,
7, 8.
9.
1, 2.
3.
4.
5, 6.
7. 8.
You did sacrifice.
1, 2.
3, 4.
5.
6, 7.
8.
2, 3, 4.
5.
Foul. Mr. Wall, we'll give you another opportunity because we would do that for the kids.
So where are we now?
So start over.
You can-
You can't say 3 numbers. You can only say 1 number or 2 numbers.
1.
2, 3.
4. 5.
6.
7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6, 7.
8.
1.
2, 3.
4, 5, 6, 7,
8. 9.
1,
2.
3.
4, 5, 6, 7,
8.
1.
2, 3.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9.
1.
2.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
8.
9.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5.
6, 7, 8.
One.
2, 3. I don't know. 4, 5.
6, 7.
8.
1,
2,
3,
4,
5, 6.
7, 8.
So as you can see from that brief time, it energized the group. We had laughter. We had people thinking. We were listening to each other, and we were having fun.
We're
And so
also
that's-
working on sportsmanship, which we directly teach in Fly 5.
Yeah. It's about celebrating others, Shauna.
Being good winners and good losers.
I failed sportsmanship too.
So congratulations, Mrs. Harmson, on your hard-fought victory. Now that we're energized, we're going to transition, and Mrs. Phillips is going to talk to you a little bit about our literacy plan for this school year.
Okay, so what you see up here is data from our literacy last spring to this fall. There's some empty spots because different grades take different tests. So like the first grade in the spring is actually kindergartners in the spring, and then their first grade score in the fall. So you can kind of look through between kindergarten and first grade, there is a change in the test. They go from reading letter names and letter sounds to reading sentences. So there's a pretty significant drop in their proficiency from 50% to 30% to start the year. Going into second grade, the test is totally different. The kindergarten and first have individual sub-skill tests that the teacher does one-on-one, and the second grade is an A reading test, which is just all computerized. So there is no score for spring for that going into second grade. So you can kind of see we made going from second graders in the spring to third graders in the fall, jumped from 28% to 41%. Fourth grade dropped from the end of third to the beginning of fourth from 48 to 37. And then on the right side is another measure, CBMR, which is fluency, basically automaticity, their rate and their accuracy. So we've maintained or improved on those scores going from spring to fall. But when you look at that data, we weren't really happy with the scores. So if you click the next one, we have created a plan to improve our scores, and two real components. The first is literacy flex time. So we have a 20-minute chunk a day where every student is getting really great reading, which is not necessarily core always, but we are using it as core instruction. No students are getting pulled out of classrooms at that time, and every student is getting grade level instruction on that. Third and fourth graders, they don't typically do really great reading, but they are using the second grade. There's like 3 books of that, and they're doing the book 3 to get more skills in the third and fourth grade. So 3 days a week, they do the really great reading in the classroom as core, and then 2 days a week, teachers still have the opportunity to respond to what they need in CKLA from formative assessments or just needs in the classroom.
I would add to that, Amy. the reason we are going with really great reading, if when you look at the data, what we wanted to focus on was our accuracy of our readers. We know we need the accuracy in order for kids to comprehend. They also need accuracy in order for them to be fluent. And so we know that even in our 3rd and 4th grade, where you're probably looking more at their rate and their comprehension, we knew there were still gaps based on our data for kids. And so that's what we chose, was a proven district curriculum that's been used in the past and is still currently used, like in our intervention classes such as Title I. And we're providing that for everybody. We collaborated with Shauna and Erica Finders last spring when we started looking at our data, and we reached out to them to collaborate with us to put this plan together.
So then the second part of our plan is you can go back one more, or go back, is the CKLA coaching, which is happening district-wide, but Franklin has chosen to do 4 coaching cycles with the CKLA company. So they're coming to Franklin October 30th and 31st for our first 2, and they will be in every classroom, and they will observe teachers, and they will have reflection time with teachers and possibly provide some coaching and possibly do some teaching too for our teachers to watch them. And we're focusing on that skills instruction, which we are hoping will increase our fluency and accuracy.
Any questions about the literacy plan and how we landed on those particular actions?
I had a question about your data. Was this cohort data or was it?
This was any student tested in FAST, so it's basically all students that were in the seats on testing day. So that it's not controlled for kids who were only there a few weeks or who came at the end of the school year, those kinds of things.
But okay, when you're looking at 3rd grade spring and 3rd grade fall, is that the same 3rd grades or 2 different 3rd grades?
It's any kid who was there in the spring in 2nd grade, and then they're there now.
In 3rd, that's what
Yeah.
I was asking. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's cohorts, okay.
But it may be different students, yes.
Okay, might be slightly different, but it's
Yes.
mostly the same, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Other literacy plan questions? Okay, go ahead and adjust. So our final slide is we wanted to share with you, Franklin's typically used to seeing you guys in the spring, so it's a little bit of a switch for us to come first. Thank you, Dr. Schutte. What I wanted to share with you are the attendance center goals that we have for this school year. Our literacy goal is there by the end of spring semester. Each grade level will meet their literacy growth or proficiency goals. These are all based on the goals that teacher teams set based on their data in their professional learning communities. Down below, the math goal by the end of the spring semester, each grade level will meet their math growth or proficiency goals. And then our SEL goal is we want 95% of our Franklin students will have 0 to 1 major office referrals. The 4th one here is just additional information for you so that you can help see how the grade levels are actually supporting our math and literacy goals within their professional learning communities. So if you would click on that link, please. So what I've included here for you is an opportunity to look into our grade levels and see the SMART goals that they are writing. You'll notice that preschool for literacy and math are both in red, as those tests are currently being administered. Once we have fully completed IGD's administration, we will add a preschool goal to that. So in the top part, you see the literacy, and if you scan down, you'll also see math. There's our SEL building goal. We did not set grade level goals on that. That is something in the future that we would want to look at in more depth. And then these are the action steps that'll be a part of our professional learning. Responsive classroom teacher language component we talked about, our literacy plan implementation, ongoing work in NIET and the coaching cycles, supporting teachers included in math and literacy flex periods, and then math utilizing the PLC process to meet student needs. For those of you that are able to join us tomorrow at Franklin, you will have the opportunity to see our flex periods in action. So, any questions for our team?
Looks like Bonnie, Karina, and Zach are planning to attend tomorrow. I apologize, I had signed up for J.A. Biztown tomorrow. So.
Okay. We'll let you slide this time. Okay. Any questions for board members for our
I
presentation
won't
team?
be attending tomorrow. I have jury duty.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry. I might be able
10:30 to
make it.
11:30.
I might,
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
Flex time is a practice throughout the school district. What Franklin has decided to do this year to be able to allocate as many resources as possible is we've actually put them back to back. And so we have, because all the kids are engaged in flex time, support teachers will also be in classrooms. You'll see that tomorrow when you come. No matter what their assignment is, they're in there supporting those 2 periods. Because our literacy flex is really more whole group instruction, you won't see as many support adults because all the kids are engaged with their classroom teacher. Math, that we have an opportunity in math to group kids differently based on their content tests and that. So, but you'll have the opportunity to kind of see both of those in action tomorrow.
Any questions or comments?
Great job.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, the My Sabers for the second graders versus the Sabers for the second graders. Like the kids scored themselves much better than the adults did.
It's a little subjective.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Bonnie, I do have some information. So CAPS does facilitate the ASH Coalition, which is adolescent sexual health. Stacy Toole Crawford is our lead for the district, but the coalition has representation across the community of all kinds, like CAPS, Micah, McFarland, I think Unity Points, the 2C, and basically they work primarily to provide support at the secondary level for students and parents. So the flyer, which was that Natalie was referencing, I think, is related to social media and how to educate students on the do's and don'ts and what to be leery of as it relates to their presence on social media.
Thank you for the information.
Yep.
Matt?
Thank you.
I apologize for not having a presentation. I did not have a good luck with technology as I was building it, so this is the remainder of what I was writing. So tonight I'm here to ask the board for spending authority to address the special education deficit. As you guys may remember, every year, at this time of year, we are looking to get spending authority approval through the school board review committee to address any deficits in special education. A little background, I know many of you know this, but just in case you need a reminder, under the federal law for special education, we need to provide whatever services are required to kids at no cost to families and no consideration of cost. Now, when the law was originally developed, the federal government said we will reimburse schools at 40%. To date, they've never increased beyond 13%. So with that gap between providing kids what they need at no consideration of cost and the amount of money that is given to us by the federal government, there is a mechanism now to bring that back in and make sure that that is addressed. Marshalltown's like most school districts in Iowa. Most school districts carry a special education deficit at the end of the year for a variety of reasons, and we can talk a little bit about that as we move through the handout. So our funds are really, the majority of them, almost 85%, support salaries and benefits for teachers and paraeducators. The remainder of our expenditures support things like specialized equipment, assistive technology devices, professional learning, instructional materials, specialized contracted services if there are things that kids need that we're not able to provide within the district, some general program expenditures, and tuition out costs. How the money is determined is really every student has what we call an individualized education program or an IEP. And that IEP talks about what is their educational disability and what are the things that they need to have in place in order for them to be successful in a general education setting. Within that IEP, you list a variety of activities, services, and equipment. And then our state has a rubric that they have our area education agency go through and review. And based on that, they assign a level of weighting or funding to that. The challenge is that the money is always a year behind. So the money that we are talking about now is from a year ago. And what we're trying to plan to support kids in our upcoming special ed child count will be for next year. So essentially, we don't have a good target. It's always a moving target of how much money we're receiving from the state. If you look about our enrollment, you can see the history of our special ed deficit. Our special ed deficit has been on decline, which has both good and bad news to it. And, you know, as much as I enjoy seeing that deficit go down, unfortunately, one of the reasons that's happening is that we are continuing to struggle to hire special education teachers, paraeducators, and other support positions like behavioral interventionists. We do utilize different resources and funding avenues to try to support this deficit. Medicaid reimbursement is the biggest one. Our district has a pretty robust process for behavior services and health-related services applying to the state to get funding back for the Medicaid-related services we provide. Our highest enrollment for kids with disabilities was in the 22-23 school year, and it was just over 850 kids at count. This year, we're looking to be right around there we're just starting the process, but that's kind of what we're looking at for numbers. So before I ask permission for spending authority, what questions do you have, or Randy's, or anything that I left out?
No, you did a good job hitting all the high points.
What's our total number of students? District-wide, not just special education, but district-wide, do you know?
I do not know our enrollment now. I know that we're just finishing certified count, so I don't know if we have a final number or not.
Was it around 5,200, somewhere in that ballpark?
Somewhere in there.
Give me 2 seconds here.
Everyone's looking at me, but
A little over 4,900.
4,900.
So 850 of those. That's our served enrollment.
Total served?
Yep.
So we're at about 17% of the students. That's about where we were when I taught here. Okay. We're close. So you've brought the deficit down, but mainly because you're short personnel.
It does influence it. It's hard to tease out what's the difference between the personnel deficit and just our fiscal management.
Well, I noticed that we've put a lot of money into mental health. Is that making a difference with what you're having to spend for behavior on special education?
Mental health services do play a role in this, as well as, like everything, inflation, costs go up for everything. So assistive technology equipment is more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Any kind of supportive devices, lift chairs, they're all more expensive. So we continue to feel the impact of all the inflation.
I would point out that the mental health is not strictly just a special ed expense either. That's also impacting just our general students as well.
No,
So
I was saying it might actually reduce our special education expense because it would hopefully keep some students out of special education if we're doing it right. I mean, that is a goal.
We're trying to support the needs of all of our kids.
Yeah.
Behavioral
Yeah.
services are really a complex area of service.
So,
Any other questions? If not, I'm asking the board to seek authority from the School Budget Review Committee for the allowable growth and supplemental aid in the amount of $575,630.
and 36 cents.
And 36 cents.
And
Is there-
36 cents. Sorry, Randy.
The state would matter. So.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Lowry Hernandez. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. I am here tonight to review the final 2022-2023 fiscal year-end reports with the board. As a reminder, our fiscal year runs from July 1 to June 30th of each year, so our business office is extremely busy during those summer months, closing out the fiscal year-end, accruing revenues and expenditures in order to file the certified annual report, which is due by September 15th to the Department of Ed each year. And this is a statutory requirement for all school districts in Iowa. So on the first slide there, Amy, if you want to go. First measure I'll talk about is our solvency ratio. You'll see on that chart there, we've come a long way in the last 5 years in a good way. We've started out at 4.27% back in 2017-18. This year, we actually went up another 5% roughly to 25.3%. Our board policy has a minimum requirement of 8 to 10. The fiscal year 22 median average was 21.8%. IASB recommends not to exceed 25%, so we are in a good area to be at. And Standard & Poor's, which is our bond rating agency, they like to see at least 20%. So we want to manage in that 10 to 15%, but if we can get closer to 20% for those bond ratings, that's a good thing to have as well. Just as a reminder, our solvency ratio is a snapshot of a point in time of our ability to meet long-term obligations. So basically, if we were to shut down tomorrow, would we have the cash on hand to pay all of our legal debts? This is one of the two primary financial indicators we look at the end of each year to make sure that we're where we want to be. This does only apply to the general fund, so that's important to keep in mind too. So this is just our general fund health that we're looking at. Two things that help impact improving solvency ratio. The first would be through a cash reserve levy, which is what we started back in 2017-18. And the second is by reducing expenditures. Again, our focus has been on that cash reserve levy. And then COVID hit, and we had that influx of federal funding. So that kind of, you'll see in 1920 there, that's when we got that kickstart and got us up to levels we wanted to be at much quicker than we had anticipated. On the next slide, this is the other main financial performance metric we like to look at. I feel that this one is actually more important than the solvency ratio. Solvency ratio is important, but it's much easier to get from a negative solvency ratio position to a positive than it is on an unspent authority position. Again, we've always had a historically high unspent authority, as you can see there. FY22 state median was 24.2%. Again, IASB, it recommends not to exceed 25. This ties into the item that you just approved a few minutes ago with our special ed deficit, because again, we were asking for authority. So authority, as a reminder, is not cash. It's the legal limit on spending that a district has throughout the year. Again, we've historically had a high unspent authorized budget. This has been a result of requesting additional allowable growth for items such as special ed, ELL, dropout prevention, but not asking for the cash to support it. We're asking for that authority. We want to long-term stabilize each of those indicators and then work towards spending annual revenues on current students. Having a high UAB is a good problem to have. It's not ideal, but it's much preferred to having cash on hand but not having the authority to spend it. Because the reason that this one is so important, again, it's not an issue that we have faced historically in this district, and I don't anticipate that really ever happening due to the influx of kids that we get. But if we were to ever go negative, the state could come in and shut us down on this metric. So this is why it's important to monitor this every year and make sure that we are keeping it at healthy levels. Next slide. The next two slides actually are just a snapshot of where our fund balances ended for the year. This first slide here is just the 5 funds that we levy taxes for each year. So our general fund, management fund, our PEARL, our PEPL, and our debt service. General fund revenue, I'll focus more on the general fund because that is our primary operating fund and where the majority of things happen for the district. Our general fund revenue for the year, 24% came from property taxes, while 65% was from state aid, 8% from federal, and then 3% from other local sources. Our general fund expenditures for the year, we had 75% were salaries and benefits, 8% for tuition, and then 17% for everything else. That tuition, that would be open enrolled out billings. That's it on that slide. Next slide. Again, that's just a review of the other funds as well. These are the non-property tax revenue funds. So our capital projects, you'll see that was a decrease there, but that was due to spending on the stadium project from those leftover bonds that we had from a previous project. Otherwise, other funds looked fairly healthy. There was a slight decrease on the activity fund, but that was due to expenditures getting back to pre-COVID levels, and now with the new scoreboard and some other revenue generating items that we've implemented over the last year, we expect to see that fund balance rebound and go back up over the next couple of years. Same things with our internal service fund. The high claims that we have incurred over the last year brought that balance down, but we made adjustments this last spring to our plan design and the insurance rate increases to help stabilize that fund and bring it back up as well. Next slide just shows a general snapshot of our general fund. Again, the full impact of COVID and that infusion of federal funds won't be fully known for at least a couple more years. However, the infusion has helped drastically get the district into a more favorable financial position, as you saw with the solvency ratio a few slides ago. That stability and sustainability will continue to be our focus as we move forward, as June 30th of this upcoming year will be the sunset date for our COVID funds. So we will intend to use the rest of those this year and then and manage our financials from there. Again, as Matt alluded to with the special ed deficit and other areas as well, staffing shortages and hiring challenges has resulted in some unfilled positions for the district. So while we're financially healthy, we want to long-term plan for filling those positions and then maintaining stability long-term for those. But overall, the last 5 years, we've made a lot of forward progress on some of the goals that we had set out since then. But that is basically FY23 financials in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I just want to commend you on how great a job you're doing. You know, you put us in a really good, strong financial position, watching all the matrix, and just looking at the numbers here, it looks like we're being real fiscally responsible, and I've seen a lot of the numbers go up year over year.
Yep. Thank you.
So is the goal then, Randy, I'm just looking at solvency ratio. The goal then is to try and level that out. I mean, that number does not need to continue to climb.
No, we are at a point where we need to look at spending down, obviously spending down responsibly, because even looking at, bond ratings and with those Standards and Poor's calls that we have each year, they don't like us to see us building up a giant surplus in excess of what is recommended. So yeah, we'll be looking to come up with different ways to spend that down to a reasonable level, but it's easy to spend down. It's more of a challenge to figure out a plan to maintain that over the long term, and that's what we'll be looking at over the next several months to come up with a game plan for that.
And then I've never had a board policy on the unspent authority.
Yep.
Do you think we should?
I don't think ISB does recommend. They do have policies that we could look at adopting to do that. But yeah, their recommendation is that 10 to 15%. So yeah, we could look at implementing that in the board policy if that is an interest of the board.
How much of this, though, do you think is going to start to level off or go down simply because we're past that point of the infusion of COVID money?
I expect to see it go down some. So I think if you, like this time, well, actually be 2 years from now, because next year's FY24 will still show that influx of COVID, but when you look at FY25, you will see that dip. As far as how much, I'm not sure yet at this time. I haven't dived too deep into those projections yet, but we'll be looking at that over the next several months, and here in the future I can have more of a accurate description of what we feel with the information that we have, what that'll look like post-COVID.
I think we've done a really good job of not directing those federal funds towards ongoing expenses. There will definitely be some programs and things like that we'll need to look at that we've been funding through that to see if there's other viable funding sources, whether it be at risk or otherwise, to continue some of those things. But we haven't, for the most part, put those funds into people as it relates to ongoing expenses. So I think we're positioned very well to weather the cliff when those funds are no longer available.
Other questions or comments?
And I guess I should add that as one of the last acting items of this current sitting board in November, we'll bring these back for you guys to formally approve and adopt these reports.
Thanks, Randy.
Yep.
You want to talk about the next one?
I can talk about the next one. Yep. So this is a bond council agreement with Allers for the $3 million SAVE revenue bond issuance that we will be doing after the first of the year. Just as a refresher, we're splitting the SAVE revenue bond issuance of the $13 million in total into two separate issuances so that we can do bank qualified SAVE revenue bonds, which gets us a better interest rate and some interest savings. So we already approved the bond council agreement for the $10 million, which you will be seeing items coming up for in the next month or so to act and approve that bond issuance. But behind the scenes, we're already having to start the work to turn around after the first of the year to do the $3 million bond issuance so that we can, again, take advantage of all of those interest savings.
Any questions for Randy? Then we need a motion to approve the engagement letter with Allers and Cooney to serve as bond counsel for the issuance of $3 million in SAVE revenue bonds.
So moved.
Second.
Lowry, Faltis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. And are there any abstentions?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with one abstention.
Got it.
Okay, now we're on to the CTE project. There's plenty of chairs.
All kinds of room up here. Okay, well, we are nearing completion of the construction documents. So we're basically asking you to set that public hearing for approval of plan specs in form of contract for the CTE project. Our next meeting is November 6th. We'll be meeting with the teachers from 11 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. to do kind of a final review of the drawings. We won't go through the specification with them, but we'll go through the drawings just to make sure. And we actually walked around the school and bumped into one of the food service staff members and one of the science teachers to make sure that it was on their radar too, and send out a new meeting invite so that we can do that. So we're very close to having that project complete. We'll have an updated cost estimate for that meeting as well. Any questions about where it's at?
Hey, Amy, can you pull up the cost estimate? And this is just a question that I just don't understand.
Okay.
So on, let's see, on the bottom of page 1, Project total cost, 11,324,257.
Yes.
Okay. And then at the end of page 4, why are those numbers different? Well, there's just something I don't understand, Kevin. That's all it is.
I think it's related to the percentage of contingency here. So there's a formula built into the two different
7%.
contingency numbers. And I think that we may have a slightly different contingency number on the front sheet.
Okay.
So it doesn't pull from here. That summary sheet pulls from each of the categories. So it pulls total electrical, total security.
Got it.
Total voice and data. And then it adds its own contingency numbers. So I probably didn't use the same multiplier on the cover sheet. But the cover sheet are the multipliers we should be using.
The 11.3.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all.
Okay.
Other questions?
So this will come back with a public hearing and an approval on November 6th. And just a reminder that we have separated out the HVAC part of this project in order to do a direct purchase. So that'll be coming forward probably around the next meeting as well, hopefully.
Yes. So we'll have a list of 8 or 9 HVAC units that are part of the project that are available from a local manufacturer. We would like to get quotes from them to purchase that directly.
If there are no other questions, then we need to approve the resolution tentatively approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated total cost for the Marshalltown Community School District High School CTE project, and setting the time, date, and location for a hearing thereon, and further authorizing the notice of seeking competitive bids on said project, the hearing to be held at 5 p.m. November 6, 2023.
And the total cost is the one that you've got highlighted in blue here on the first page.
Yes,
11.3, okay.
that's our opinion of what the total cost will be.
Okay.
Once we get bids, then we'll really know.
Then you'll really know. Okay. So this is the estimate of your total cost.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so moved.
Second.
McGinnis, Hernandez, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else on the agenda on other components of any of the 3 projects that we're working on?
Yeah, we've got the approval to move forward. You know, we had the
public hearing on the tornado
Yes.
safe room, so now we have the agenda item to approve it.
Okay.
You want to talk about that, Kevin?
Well, the documents are 99.9% complete for that. We are waiting for a peer review of the drawings. We should have that yet this week, or we'll make any kind of final changes. We heard from our contact at Homeland Security that their review, we sent them documents on Wednesday of last week, and they say they look fine. They reached out to Dr. Schutte and said these drawings look fine, just want to make sure that all of their contractual requirements will be in the actual contract written with the successful bidder on the project. So it is our intent, with your approval, that we would issue those bid documents yet this week, hopefully by the end of the week, with a goal of Wednesday.
And then remind me, what's the timeline for bidding?
It's about a month.
Okay.
So we'll get bids back in early November, mid-November.
Questions? Okay, then we need a motion to approve the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated total cost for the Marshalltown Community School District Tornado Safe Room Project.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Lowry, Faltis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. It's not on your agenda, but the stadium project, we're cleaning up some of the final items, and there will be a final change order, hopefully, at your next school board meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Policies.
Policies.
So we have one policy coming back for first reading. This was one that Bonnie presented at the last meeting, 604.05, religion-based exclusion from a school program. This was amended to reflect or to adopt the ISB language. There's been no changes to it since last meeting. I would recommend board approval and waive the second reading.
Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to amend 604.05 and waive the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Faltis, Lowry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Zach.
All right, we have some up for review. Dr. Schutte, was 603.6 still on the agenda or not?
Yeah, Mrs. Wyatt from the high school reviewed 603.6 physical education. She made some adjustments based on our ability to offer students alternative ways to attain PE credit in the event that it can't work in their schedule. So that would come back for first reading. And then 604.06R1, instruction at a post-secondary education institution. There were adjustments made based on collaborative discussions with Marshtown Community College on providing greater flexibility to acquire dual credit or college credit classes without being solely reliant on proficiency through the Iowa assessments. So there's, within that policy, multiple ways that a student wishing to pursue dual credit courses could be deemed viable or proficient beyond just the Iowa assessments there. So those two policies, 603.6, 604.06R1 would come back for first reading.
Any questions about either one of those policies?
It appeared to me, looking through it, that the biggest change is utilizing the student's current transcript as their ability to not necessarily perform, but to earn credit, to be successful.
Yep.
And that was really the major change?
Yeah, I would say so. Again, especially with some of our students that have language barrier, there's been challenges with them meeting the previous thresholds to be able to take those courses, especially in the CTE areas and stuff. So we're very appreciative of MCC's willingness to work with us to consider other ways to determine whether a student has a potential for success in those dual credit courses.
Okay, the other ones, we have 604.7 dual enrollment. We were making edits to align with IASB, and this would be the first reading. I'll have to bring it back. The other ones are 604.8, foreign students. There'll be no changes recommended. 604.1, online courses, no changes are recommended at this time. 604.11, appropriate use of online learning platforms, no changes at this time. And 604.12, temporary disabled students. There's just a couple small edits here, and we recommend to mark it as reviewed.
Other questions for Zach about any of those policies? Okay. Then 604.7 will come back, and the remainder of those will be marked as reviewed. Abby.
So for tonight, I thought it'd be good to share with you guys the power of social media. It plays along with, I know, the superintendent goal for this upcoming year, and it deals a lot with our communication audit report from 2021, specifically continuing to develop original and engaging post content. So with social media, you know, you post cute photos, the video, the captions, but the other side of social media really comes in is the analytics and figuring out where is our content really striking home with our community, our students, our teachers, really anyone that looks at our district page. So that is kind of what I've put together here tonight. Amy, if you can. So some terms I thought, you know, you should know before looking at the analytics is reach, impressions, and engagement. Reach is really the one that I aim for every time I post something onto the district accounts. If you have a reach of 10, that's 10 unique accounts right there, so 10 people, versus impressions where you might have 20, but it's only 10 people looking at it, so multiple times right there. And then engagements is anything from likes, comments, direct messages, comment, or other comments to other people, replies, shares, so it's kind of along that lines right there. Facebook will always be a priority, in my opinion, for the communications department. It's where our biggest audience is currently sitting. And the data that I took about our top performing posts here tonight is from the last 28 days. If you would like something a little bit more extensive, I can go 90 days from that. But I really thought this was a good snapshot of what we're doing. So, like I said, Facebook is our largest social media platform. Communications department has a goal to regularly post and share content onto this district account right here. With the follower numbers, I kind of went with from my first day here at the district to where we are at now. Along with that is the reach numbers and then the visits. Some of that kind of has to tailor in if we boost a post. So some of the advertising for events or the Embrace the Lead video was another post that was boosted to create more reach right there. I also aim for about 4 to 5 fresh content pieces. So that's not like informational about, you know, picture day. It's not informational about an event. It's within the classrooms or within events, really showing the great things that are happening here at Marshalltown Community School District. And then one of the interesting pieces right there that whenever I look at the analytics is looking at who from outside of the community is looking at our stuff. I don't have it up in my presentation, but Des Moines is one of them. Ames and Ankeny are top 3 that are looking at our stuff. So it makes me feel good when outside communities are looking at our stuff and saying, you know, this is the awesome stuff that's happening here in Marshalltown. Next slide. So these are top 5 performing posts the past 28 days. A lot of this leads into the homecoming posts that were being published throughout that week. A lot of, you know, energy going into that. Embrace the Lead was a super interesting one, looking at those numbers. And then one that I know popped out to Dr. Schutte was the Taylor Swift Spirit Weekday. Yeah, so next slide. we'll save that one for this upcoming slide. I put something together about why it's super interesting with that Taylor Swift post in itself.
Are you thinking of my JA bead activity
I
bracelet?
mean, I asked you about the friendship bracelets. You know, I was pretty bummed that it wasn't related to Taylor Swift, but you know. So the reach numbers right there are super interesting to me. Talking about close to the entire population of Marshalltown right there. I was hearing from Natalie that she was having family members, since she is quite featured within that video. Family members from one end of the state were messaging her and said, "Hey, I saw you in this video about Marshalltown. That's really awesome." So that's really encouraging to me. And then I think it's also awesome that how big our impression numbers are. So people are watching this multiple times. They're sharing it with others. They're feeling energized by this video, and that's exactly the point of it right there. And then if you want to go to the next slide, Taylor Swift Spirit Weekday. So throughout the homecoming week, I emailed all staff and I said, hey, you know, throughout Spirit Week, send me your photos. You know, show me what's going on within your buildings. And when we got to Taylor Swift Spirit Weekday, I think I had close to 20 emails of just photos of what they were doing within the buildings. And to me, that is the ultimate goal right there. It's just handing over the platform to our teachers, our students, and really saying, tell me your story here in a photo. Tell me what's going on within this moment right here. And so, you know, from the reach numbers, the impression numbers, our community really engages with that. To me, that's really encouraging. So it's always a point for me. I know I have the fancy camera, but whenever someone can share me the photo, share me the story, that's heartwarming right there. That's something that I will always aspire to do. And then Instagram. So Instagram, I kind of had to create from scratch again on August 11th, 2023. When I first came to the district, I know Dr. Schutte and Shauna were trying to help me out in terms of logging into the past account and get that started again. We were unable to, so kind of had to start from the beginning. But as you can tell, it has really grown quickly among our high school students and our young families, going from August 11th to October 11th. 237 followers right there. Accounts reach, you know, well over 2,000. I think one of the most impressive things is looking at the number of accounts that don't follow the Marshalltown Schools ones that are still looking at our stuff. They're still engaging with it. So then the question is posed, how do we get those people to follow us? And so, again, that's where analytics comes in. You figure out what is the content that's really hitting home with our community, our students, and, you know, get them to hit that follow button right there. Next slide. So I wanted to share the powder buff and powder puff photos that I posted. A lot of the high-performing posts from Instagram were also the same ones that I posted on Facebook. That's kind of cross-posting right there, where you can take content on one platform and easily post it on another. But sometimes when you're doing the cross-posting, sometimes it hits a little bit more on one platform compared to another. Powder buff and powder puff photos were definitely a big hit as soon as I hit post. High schoolers, they saw this, they started sharing it with friends, they started putting it on their Instagram stories. So the impressions and reach really exploded from there. You saw a lot of non-followers looking at the account. They started liking other things, sharing other content pieces, and really engaging with the story of Marshalltown. Next slide. And then X, or formerly known as Twitter, we're not really sure anymore what this social media platform is really named at this point, but kind of X is the one that I'm not really sure about how to use it as the best tool for the school district. I've kind of been using it as retweeting other a lot of our other groups and organizations, so the sports accounts, if they have a really big moment on the field, share that. If I see a really interesting tidbit, I share that as well. If we get tagged by the AEA, I share their content. So that's kind of been my area of researching from other school districts, how they're using their Twitter account and figuring out the best game plan for Marshalltown schools. So, next slide. So overall, these social media platforms, I truly believe, have played a major role in telling the Marshalltown Community School District story this school year. The engagement numbers, the follower numbers have really exploded, and I think that's really from understanding the analytics of social media, learning what content really hits home with our community, and then kind of figuring out unique storytelling opportunities, really showcasing our students, our teachers, and really opening the door through social media of what our classrooms look like. There's still a lot of work to be done to utilize social media and analytics to really strategize. To me, if you're not strategizing or having a clear purpose when you're posting, then why do it? So always putting together a game plan is good. And then I'm particularly excited about student content coming in the near future from Amy Harmson's class. I sat down with them, I think it was about a month ago, and today kind of talking over their social media content. They'll be doing an Instagram takeover here in the near future, so they're kind of working on their storyboards, getting their interviews together, figuring out what is really going to engage with their audience. One particular idea that they're excited about is tiny mic interviews. So you have a little extension to your iPhone, you plug that in, and then you go up to a friend or a teacher, and you start asking them questions, back and forth. People really love it on Instagram or on Reels. It really takes off. So finally, next slide. Is there any questions?
Well, it's very evident. You've done an outstanding job boosting our presence, so congratulations on the work thus far.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I would just say that it appears there, and we've done an excellent job of hiring a communications director.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, nicely done. You can't get on Facebook without seeing something from the Marshalltown Community School District, so that's kudos to you.
Thank you.
And your work.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Abby.
Okay, we've got a few reminders. It's not in here, I don't think, but the Franklin visit is tomorrow for those of you who are able to go. And then the dedication at the Welcome Center is Sunday from 3 to 4.
Correct.
Sarah, you've got initial review policies for next meeting. And we don't have a school presentation until the 20th of November when Hoagland will be here. Keep an eye out for your committee meetings that might be coming up. I know the Finance Committee's meeting next week. SIAC looks like they're meeting tomorrow.
And I think teacher quality is tomorrow, too.
Teacher Quality is also tomorrow. And the Equity Committee is meeting later this week, Thursday. Do we have any committee reports? I'm not aware of anything. Any items for future agendas? Then what have we done this evening to improve the education for the students in Marshalltown?
We're getting closer on the whole CTE project.
Yeah, I would say that there has been a lot of time spent in the planning for that and a tremendous amount of opportunity for many teachers to be engaged in that project, from science to ag to family consumer science to industrial arts, and the administration of the high school too. So they're all to be commended for the time and effort they've put in to hopefully design a wonderful 21st century renovation.
It sounds like we're getting closer to some more authentic learning with regard to Amy's class and their takeover. Anytime you can get students to take on work at the district level, that is kudos to you guys too, using those powerful creative brains that they have and help to support our district in that way.
And I think, Zach, you mentioned it during Randy's presentation, but this district financial condition has improved dramatically over the last 6 or 7 years. So, and that's due to the hard work, not just of Randy, but of Paulette and other folks in the district. So, good job. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
McGinnis, Lowry, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. We're adjourned.